Hello, I'm Kate Stichina. Welcome to InstaForex TV channel. During the second half of this week, traders are going to be focused on US-China relations. The US tariffs on China's goods are to be raised already on Friday, although there are other important events that will influence the market sentiment. We are going to share it with you in this video. The inflation reports will be the key macroeconomic data this week. China will be first to release its consumer and producer price indexes. Both readings are likely to encourage investors with a positive dynamic. However, they will hardly change the market sentiment, as traders pay a lot more attention to the escalating trade conflict between Washington and Beijing. The same day this evening will bring the US trade balance data. Actually, the introduction of new tariffs is an attempt by the US president to reduce the country's trade deficit. Meanwhile, February's reading was the best since June 2018. Nevertheless, analysts expect the deficit to resume its growth to minus $51.4 billion in March. Apart from this swelling deficit in foreign trade, the Federal Reserve Chairman's speech of the conference in Washington can become another reason for the greenback's sell-offs. Perhaps Jerome Powell will be able to convince traders to buy the US dollar as it happened last Wednesday, but it is unlikely to work for the second time. Therefore, we should expect the American currency to weaken after the Fed's leader reminds about the necessity to keep the monetary policy unchanged. The next day, the US dollar is likely to give in to the British pound as the UK GDP report is due on Friday, and the flash estimates are rather optimistic. Experts anticipate the preliminary figure to come out at 0.5%. Thus, the pound bulls will be back on track. The industrial production data may become a small fly in the ointment for the British statistics. It is expected to decline to 0.2% in March from 0.6% in February, although the annual index is forecast to increase to 0.4% from 0.1%. The Canadian dollar could pose a challenge to its American rival. The loonie could find support from data on the labor market, which is due on Friday. The market expects upbeat employment change in Canada with 15,000 new jobs in April. Nevertheless, the US dollar is going to show resilience. The greenback will rely on inflation data for April. The consensus suggested that an annual rate of consumer inflation could have increased to 2.1% from 1.9% earlier. Such an acceleration indicates healthy conditions in the United States economy. Apart from the above-said events, it worked to be a good idea to take notice of other economic reports. On Thursday, the United States will present a producer price index. Besides, Canada will release data on its trade balance, which deserves special attention, as Canada's economy mainly depends on exports. On early Friday, the Reserve Bank of Australia will announce a policy update. If the regulator decides to soften its stance on monetary policy, this will be bearish for the Australian dollar. In Europe, investors are allowed to report on the trade balance from Germany and the UK, as well as industrial production data from France. During the North American trade, Canada will release building permits data, and the United States will post a monthly federal budget balance. You are watching video calendar on InstaForex TV channel with me, Kate Stichina. We wish you profitable deals.